I'm gonna talk about the spiritual ego, the spiritual arrogance that I think a lot of people know exactly what I mean. And I think this is a very common trap we all fall into, especially when we start up with this. I did it myself, definitely. I kind of just recently pulled myself out of it to some extent. But I've been in here for some while, and it was a lot worse in the beginning, definitely. And I think this is not talked about that much, but one of the things that happens when we start off this journey is that a lot of people are very curious about what's going on in the world, because usually a lot of people either they wake up through maybe personal experience that has been very traumatic for them, which means that they start to question their reality and their life. The other scenario could be that they see something going on in the world. For most people in recent years, the pandemic, the corona thing, was for many people that typical incident or happening that really started to wake up a lot of people. That was definitely for me. And after that, it has happened so many things, and you have just keep digging more and more, researching more, listening to the new video after the other, and new books and new everything. You've been through so many things. This rabbit hole is insanely deep, and if you don't pay attention, you will never leave it, because you will keep looking and finding new things, and you will be stuck there forever. And I also think that's why I said before, I made a video about it, but the darkness or the dark forces or the bad things that's going on in the world is very necessary for us, because that's usually the things that makes us question things. Because the lies are so obvious that we don't have any other choice than to start thinking in this doesn't add up at all. They say one thing here on this channel, or they say one thing here on this newspaper or this TV channel or commercial radio, and doesn't add up to the reality that we can clearly see. And it makes us questioning things. And through this experience, like I said, we tend to dig down in this rabbit hole, and we come across so many different conspiracy theories and stuff. Why I say conspiracy theories is because in our direct experience, most of the times we will never know if it is 100% true, which means that we will form this kind of belief around it that if more of us would really know it, then we're gonna create this community and this movement, and we can change the world. But it doesn't work like that, and this is exactly what I've figured out kind of recently and found out for myself. And I think you know what I mean. In the beginning, you start to talk to your friends, you start talking to your family members and all this kind of stuff, people around your close circle, and they start to think that you're crazy, and you kind of lose contact with other people. They get irritated by you, what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're preaching all the time. And this is exactly what happens because our ego takes over. And our spiritual ego, why I say spiritual ego? Because our ego thinks now that we know much more than other people, and we know what is best for others. And that is not the case, because these things has been going on for so long time. I mean, Twin Towers, 9/11 was maybe the biggest one. We had swine flu in 2009. We had 2008, the economy crashed. So there's been a lot of stuff going on, and on all these occasions, a lot of people wake up. On those times when that happened, I wasn't very old, but I never had anyone preach to me, you should start doing this, and this is how the world is. But a lot of people in my own circle or my own city where I live, they experience exactly that, because that's what I did. I started to talk a lot about that to them. Then I started changing my diet. I experienced some tremendous results, felt amazing. That's why I thought that everyone should start doing this as well. Usually we put up stuff online, maybe on our Facebook page, on our Snapchat, Instagram, something like that. We want people to know, because this is the truth, and we want everyone to know this, and we want everyone to start doing this. But we always forget that most people are not ready. They're not ready to take these kind of huge steps, and they're definitely not ready to do the inner work, the shadow work that we all have to do. And that's also one thing in the spiritual community. Most people don't want to do that. That's why they get stuck in these kind of rabbit holes, and they just keep searching for new information, because they want to find out the new truth, the new thing. What's this connected to? And all the time they forget about themselves, that they have to do the work on themselves. It doesn't matter how much you know about the world if you still react into all these kind of nonsense that's going on in the world. If you get reacted and you get triggered by sitting in a car queue, or someone just, I don't know, shouts at you on the street or something like that, and you get triggered by it, you have a lot of stuff to work on. But we forget about these things because we're so invested in this idea that we need to wake everybody up now so that they can know what we know so that we can change the world. But we always forget that the darkness or the bad things that's going on serves a very important purpose, and it's always going to be like that. So it doesn't matter if we want to change the world, because it's still going to have this dark side. It's going to be a world of duality. It's no way around it. And we don't want it to be any other way anyhow. Because if it wouldn't have been for that, we wouldn't never be where we are now. I would definitely not sitting here and doing these videos. This channel would definitely not existed if it wasn't because of the evilness in the world. So I think this is so important to bring up and talk about, because we become very arrogant. Then we also, after that, we start to, after the information, after these kind of things that we find out about the world, about the elites and all these kind of stuff, we get into all these kind of practices. We get into all these kind of ideas and concepts that we have to do these things. One of the first things I saw when I started to become curious about spirituality and stuff is that you kind of stumble upon a lot of people who have this kind of typical archetype how a spiritual person should be. Like they should be thin. That is pretty common. They should eat very light foods, mainly like fruits. They should fast. They should have long hair, maybe beard, and they should have a lot of like necklaces and bracelets and all these kind of stuff, you know, these crystals and stuff, stones. That's kind of like the archetype for many people. But we're missing what it really is about, and it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's about us becoming humble and really go inside and start healing our wounds and our traumas, so that we can leave this kind of ego-invested persona that we have formed. We're so invested in this person, this body. That's our job here, to release ourselves from that, to become free. That's the whole point. And that's what I've realized now. That, I mean, we already have everything that we want, but we're just missing everything because we're so stuck up here. And we never living in the now. We're always living in the future and the past. We always forget about the present. So yeah, so we get into all these kind of practices and we put them on pedestals. I've talked about it before now. I've done it on a lot of things. We kind of get so obsessed with it that we think it's the thing that is changing everything. But at the end of the day, how we approach things, if we approach a certain practice or something, that it's going to be life-changing, that this practice is going to change my world, I'm going to get so confident, and I'm going to get this and that, and I'm going to attract this many women. Most of the things is going to happen because the mind is very powerful. The placebo is such a powerful thing. We always forget about that. And one thing I don't like is that when people say that I'm doing these kind of stuff because I'm doing it for the mental well-being. I'm doing it for my mental health. And my question for that is always like, if you are at the stage where you have to be doing these kind of things to feel good emotionally, to be in balance, then there's something wrong inside of you that needs to be fixed. There's something you need to abstain from, probably. There's something you need to look at here. Because if we're always looking on external things, it can be simmer attention, it can be you meditating to be calm, it can be you doing your ice baths. If you always have to do this, because otherwise you're not going to feel good about yourself, there's something internally wrong here. We have to realize that. We have to come to the agreement with ourselves that something is off. We have to fix it. But so we put these practices on pedestals and we think that they are gonna fix everything. That's the solution, but no, it's not the solution. I mean, it can be a good thing to do if you want to maybe build mental strength or something like that. Build discipline. That's a good thing. I'm all for it. I think it's amazing. But I'm not gonna sit here say that you have to do these kind of things in order to feel good mentally, because that's not the case. Because everything comes from in here. That's always been like that, and it's not going to be anything other. So I think it's so important that we just get that through our head, that if we're looking for things outside ourselves to fix something internally, we're doing wrong from the beginning. We have to change that. And one thing also, when we create this spiritual ego, the arrogance, is that we get into all these kind of spiritual echo chambers, where there are so many forums out there where everyone's saying the exact same thing, and the ego loves it because it gets comfortable. It loves to feed on the energy that everyone thinks the same. They talk about this, and if you're not doing this, you can't be part of this, and if you have any like different take or angle on this subject, you're not welcome. Like, this happens as well, and I don't want to build that. I don't want it to be, I mean, everyone is welcome. Just have an open mind and think about it, and think about the information, consider it, and maybe start practicing something and like take it into your life and see for yourself. But it's not nice when we get so attached to certain things, because that's what spiritual people do, that we only hang around with these kind of people. Because I think we're missing the whole point of the existence. The whole point of this existence is to experience things, because that's the only way for us to evolve. Otherwise, we will never do it. We can't only read things, listen to things, and listen to the things other people what they have done, and think that we know things, because we don't. We believe that we know, but in the end of the day, if we haven't seen it for ourselves, we don't know. So there's so many traps we fall into when we get into this path, and I mentioned it in one of my previous videos now, that I think there's so many people out there who are not aware of what they are. They are not like, they have not raised the consciousness. They are not aware of what they are. They're walking around like robots, like zombies, but they are living more in the present moment than a lot of the spiritual people do. I really think so. I have some people around my circle that I don't have very much contact with anymore, but I know that they are very, I mean, they're living a pretty simple life, and they're very, I can think that they are very in the moment when they do things, because the ego, the mind, hasn't created all these kind of illusions and boxes that they follow. So they're just enjoying the life in the moment and having a good time. I can take my grandparents, for example. My grandpa now is dead, but when he lived, he didn't eat like a healthy diet. He ate pretty standard, but they ate from the garden. They had an own garden. They grown their own foods, but they ate everything. They ate meat, they ate cheese and dairy and coffee. They had maybe alcohol, but they lived pretty long life, up to the 90s. Mostly healthy, never any diseases and stuff. But they really enjoyed the life. They lived in the present moment. And they didn't create suffering, because they thought that in order for me to live a good life, I have to follow these kind of things. I have to be doing this, and I have to do my routine in the morning and my routine in the evening, and I have to be perfect all the time. I think that's another video to talk about perfection. I think it's just BS, but I think we just have to drop these kind of things, these ideas that we are supposed to be so insanely good at everything all the time, because that's at least what I think. That's not what we're supposed to do here. So give you some slack. Like what I like to see, I always say this, that having direction in your life takes small steps to that, and you will be fine. That's the end of the day. Like, if you're just improving 1% every day at every aspect of your life, I mean, that's tremendous in a lifetime. If you do 1% every day, that's so much more than if you didn't do anything. But it still is very little. But the people who will always succeed is the one who is consistent with things over time. And it comes to the spiritual side as well, to be happy, to be constantly at least trying to live in the now and the moment, and don't complicate things, don't put up boxes that we can't follow this. If it feels right for you, go ahead and do it. If it feels right in the moment for you to have your pizza with your friends, do it. Enjoy it. It's an experience. I've been so much better to do that now recently, and I don't suffer. Last weekend now I hang around with 2 amazing friends. We had some barbecue, we had some wine, I had some cheese for the wine. It was amazing. I didn't create any suffering because I have this idea that I can only eat fruits. No, I enjoy the moment. But most of my diet is very good, but I can still enjoy my life with people I like, and I don't suffer. But there's so many people who create this idea that, oh, you have to be a fruitarian, you have to eat fruits 100%, and if you slip up, you eat 1 cooked meal, then you're not a fruitarian. And you can't be like that. You're not spiritual. I mean, do you hear what we are talking about? It's so insane. It's fucking crazy. It's so ridiculous, like how we put up these ideas that you have to follow them so strictly. That's not the point. That's so insane. How I used to think about spirituality, that's what you should do. I walked around and like had anxiety about when I should do a super long water fast, because that's what like a very spiritual person should do. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, just drop these kind of concepts. It's insanely, and still the people who do them, they are suffering so much. We have no idea. We know so little bit about other people. The only person we really know about there, it's ourselves. That's where we start and that's where it ends. So I hope you liked the message and the video. If you did, hit the like button, comment and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Share it to someone you know who might need to hear information like this. And let me know if you have any feedback, you want me to talk about something else, or if you have any other kind of like different take on it, on spiritual ego or their arrogance that a lot of people form. So I would be very happy if you can tell me and let me know. So I want to wish you a fantastic week, and talk soon.